Hi, it's Scott Carlson with BRIX Real Estate. Thank you for joining me today and watching this video. Well, you got a home under contract. Now what? What's the next steps? Well, the first one is go out and celebrate responsibly. Congratulations, you did it. You got a home under contract. You've got to be excited about going through the process. If you're a first-time home buyer, move up buyer, move down buyer, it's a home that's going to be a great fit for you. Now, when you put together the purchase agreement with your real estate agent, you said that you were going to have X amount of dollars for earnest money that you were going to be putting towards your offer. Well, you have 2 business days to do that. Now, most real estate, brokerages and companies have where you can do it electronically, super easy, and your real estate agent can help with that. Some companies are a little more old school and still have where you have to drop off a check. Well, your real estate agent can help navigate you through that process. Okay. Now, I offer the Smart Home Buyer book to everybody. Doesn't matter if you work with me or not. I'll have it in the link below that you can just click on and get a copy of it, or you can go to my website. Now, it starts off on page 26, and it talks about the accepted offer, what's next. It goes into more detail. But I also wanted to cover stuff that I thought was important that you should know about. Okay, so you've sent the earnest money in. The next thing is the inspection. Now, if you know an inspector, that like, and trust, you just let your real estate agent know, and then they'll reach out and they can help, set that up. If you don't know an inspector, the real estate agent, I'm sure, knows one. I know plenty. And they will, help set it up. Now, another part of the offer is you said that, this inspection contingency would be done within a certain number of days. So there is a little bit of urgency to get the inspection done, in a relatively short time frame. And that's usually not a problem for the inspector to come out in a short time frame, because they typically know that and are on the ball. Now, you're also going to see where the real estate agent doesn't talk to you as much. It doesn't mean that their job is done. It just means that they kind of shift a little more into the background, where you're going to start talking more to the lender, you're going to start talking to the title company, and they're going to be requesting documents. They're going to be asking when you want to close, where you want to close. So you'll kind of work with them closer. Doesn't mean that the real estate agent is out of the loop. They're still very much in the loop. They helped you find the home, and now they're guiding you through the process. Typically, real estate agents will go to the inspection. I like to try to be there so I can, kind of walk through, the home with the buyer and the inspector and see if anything, comes up that could be a big concern, that, maybe the buyer is now, unfortunately not interested in the home. And they're like, oh, geez, I didn't know that the foundation was bad, or, the plumbing, or, whatever it may be. And the inspector, when they're done, they also will send a report to you and also to me to go over and talk about, okay, is this a home that you're still excited about? Is it something that you still want to move forward with? Now, here, in Minnesota, we typically have a general inspection that is done. Doesn't mean that you can't have other services. For example, let's say a sewer line scope, let's say a radon test. So there are different things that you can get as well. Now, if your property has, a well or a septic system, those are other tests, that we would look at getting, because we want to make sure that the home that you're purchasing is in good condition, and that if there's anything that is wrong, that you know about it before we move forward. Now, after the inspection contingency, as long as there's nothing that comes up that makes you no longer interested in the home, we would move on to the next step, which would be the appraisal. Now, with the appraisal, the lender is the one that sets that up. They have, an appraiser come out, they'll take a look at the home, and then they'll assign a value to the home. Now, once the lender gets the appraisal back, what they do is they'll share it with you. They'll let me know if there's a problem with the appraisal. So if, for example, the appraisal, comes in below the asking price that you agreed on with the seller, well, at that point in time, we would either need to renegotiate or walk away if that's the case, and find another home. But it's more about renegotiating with the seller, of course, if the appraisal comes in low. But we want the appraisal to come in high, so you actually just gained free instant equity when you purchase the home. That's what I like to see for any of my buyers that I'm working with. Now, after the appraisal, and we'll assume that there's nothing that came up there, were there any hurdles? The next step is the final walkthrough. Now, with the final walkthrough, we typically either go that day of closing or the night before the closing. And the reason being is we want to make sure that anything that was agreed upon that would still be at the home is at the home, or anything that was agreed upon that would be gone is gone. So for example, I've had times where we've done the final walkthrough and there's a couch, a ratty old couch that, the buyer had no interest in, and the seller was hoping that we wouldn't notice. Well, we noticed, and we called and said this couch needs to go before we're going to close. And so we want to make sure that everything that is supposed to be done is done. Now, you don't typically get, the keys, the garage door openers at the final walkthrough. You get those after you sign the paperwork at closing. And I actually, a lot of times, have the keys and bring them to the closing, and it's a fun time, it's exciting, and you go through all the paperwork. And for example, if it's a cash deal, there's less paperwork. If you're financing a loan, there's a little bit more paperwork. Sometimes the lender, to speed up the process, will email you some of the paperwork that you can e-sign. Now, another thing with that is once you get a home under contract, I send you a copy of all the paperwork that you signed, for example, the purchase agreement. And you want to actually save that because you want to have it for your paperwork for the future. Okay? Now, you sign all the paperwork, you get the keys, we take some pictures, and it's a fun, great day. But yes, so that's how the process works. If I can be of help, please don't hesitate to reach out. Scott Carlson, BRIX Real Estate. Thank you very much.